Senate Bill 103 in 1923 was transformative for this region, and the fact that it was for the people.
So even in the beginning, they were sure that they look at what are the national standards. One thing really is transcending everything, and that is the focus on hands-on education.
We really owe our beginnings 100 years ago to the first president, Paul Whitfield Horn.
Our college has very much been willing to change and to grow and develop, and I see that around the university.
When we look back at the history of this university, you can imagine the ingenuity and the vision that it took to think through what this place would be. The needs that it would serve both at the time of its founding, but also the hope that it would continue to serve this region, this state, the globe and beyond. As you think about that history at this moment in time, maybe thinking through your colleges, how do you think that founding, that history, and some of those lessons continue to inform the work that your college does now and the impact that it has?
So our college started off as, it was actually at that time the School of Home Economics. And home economics at that time and the program was really focused on teaching young ladies, and we had 78 of them that started off in the first class. Teaching young ladies how to manage a household and run it efficiently and effectively. And also there were some there that were going on and to teach home economics in the schools. And so they were preparing for those sort of careers in managing households.
Senate Bill 103 in 1923 was transformative for this region, and I really love thinking about and reading about the history with the purpose of Texas Tech University, right then Texas Technological College, and the fact that it was for the people, and it was for the people of West Texas. And so a lot of dynamics occurring in the 20s around agriculture. The big ranches were well established, but the cattle market was declining. Explosion and growth of the numbers of farms. Ranches didn't really change, but the need of the School of Agriculture at that time as one of the four founding colleges, again, was instrumental with regard to what was happening in our nation and in this region at the time.
Yeah, if I think about engineering, of course, 100 years ago and engineering today are quite a bit different. Although there's a lot of continuity. Some of the programs which started 100 years ago are still existing. Mechanical engineering, electrical engineering. They are actually ABET accredited since 1933, continuously accredited. So even in the beginning, they were sure that they look at what are the national standards, what is really engineering, what this is about. Not only focusing on the local, but also looking what are the national standards, following them, and making sure that the engineering education is really nationwide acceptable. And so today, of course, we have 10 degree programs and going to 15 in a few years. At that time, there were, I think, 3, with textile engineering, of course, not existing anymore. There is a lot of transformation, but one thing really is transcending everything, and that is the focus on hands-on education. Engineers which are ready to work right after the degree.
And, as I kind of reflect on now the College of Arts and Sciences, which is the largest college at Texas Tech University, we really owe our beginnings 100 years ago to the first president, Paul Whitfield Horn, who also had a liberal arts education background. And he also really believed, even though the foundation of Texas Tech 100 years ago really was to establish a technical college to meet the demands and the needs of West Texas, he also believed that it was really important that the students had a liberal arts education to go along with that. And in fact, over 2/3 of the original class that started, or 914 students in 1925, 2/3 of those were liberal arts students. And, that really set the foundation, I think, for the foundation of a liberal arts education. And we really still today serve that as one of the many functions that we have at Texas Tech University, is really supplying that core education to the students of Texas Tech.
What are those elements that you see, the characteristics of values in that founding, that you think are still being expressed in university today?
So for us, I think it's the first one for me is change. I think our college has very much been willing to change and to grow and develop, and I see that around the university. I think the second one is, and coming back to Roland's point on then practical issues and thinking about how we can make a difference in the world and really go out there and meet the demands of society. And I think as our college has evolved, we've changed, we've added new programs to meet that, and name changes and everything else.
Yeah. Arthur Leidig, our very first dean, appointed by President Horn. Interesting reading his history, because he and I actually grew up in Kansas, both have degrees from Kansas State. He was for the people, and I really, really love that about our history, right? And so very student-centric, student-driven, which of course is the purpose of higher education, but also thinking about how what we do at Texas Tech University serves the producers, the farmers and ranchers in this region. So that's something that I really believe set our history, set our culture, and we've not strayed far from that, albeit we're doing cutting edge work that's very relevant not only to West Texas, but to the world.
I actually would expand on change, and I actually would extend that into adaptability. Really, we are making the change, but we're also responding to it. And we are teaching our students to respond to the changes over, of course, the last 100 years. But these days, you can imagine that students have as much change as somebody had in the last 100 years with the AI revolution within their education. So really adaptability, being able to perceive and respond to changes. I think that is both on the faculty side and instilling that into all students.
And I'd sort of add that I think some of those basic values that started 100 years ago, the sort of educating and providing education to the rural communities of West Texas is something that we still do. We respond to the needs of the rural communities, and that, grit that I think took those students to come here 100 years ago is something that I still feel today when I work with the students at Texas Tech, that they're very special, and they are, as Roland said, adaptable and going out into the world. So I think we have some of those very same core values that, started with Texas Tech 100 years ago, still remain today.
The past 100 years have brought incredible change to the world around us. Changes in our industries, in the way we work, in our technologies, in the way we connect as people. Texas Tech has not stood still amidst these changes. We've continued to adapt programming, adapt our research, attempted to be relevant, and sometimes even been willing to question the way we've done things, our mission, our view of things. When you think about the biggest changes of the past century, how do you think your college, as part of Texas Tech, has evolved to keep pace with those changes and to continue to make a difference?
Well, I think, we have gone through an incredible amount of change in the last 100 years since Texas Tech was first opened its doors in 1925. And, the one thing that I will say, I think the reasons why Texas Tech has been so successful and has grown is that we have had the ability to adapt and to respond to the needs of our not only our local society, but our nation and also the world. And, an example of that I give that actually was a local event that happened here was, the major tornado that happened in 1970. And, one of the things that I can say that the way that we responded to that and helping our nation deal with these sort of major events that happen that are natural disaster type events. We now have the National Wind Institute that is a collaboration between many different disciplines, some of those being in the College of Arts and Sciences. And now, we have world-renowned researchers who look at those sorts of phenomena in Rollins College, for example, how we build our structures now to respond to those types of disasters. So, I think that we've been able to successfully look at what's happening in our region, in the nation, in the world, and develop responses to those education and programs also for our students.
It's really incredible to think about taking what was an obvious natural disaster, portraying there's so many good things that helped both the local community in responding to and dealing with, but then what can we learn from the things that affected us to help others?
Absolutely.
The National Wind Institute, our structural research labs, the technologies that we had to experience to then use to help others. I think that's deeply part of the Texas Tech story. Dee?
I think one of the major things is to respond to all of these changes is that we always made sure to hire the best people. It is about people because we need the people to be able to withstand all of these challenges. And the university stands on the people it represents, the students, the staff, and the faculty. And we always make sure that we can get the best people, the best students, the best faculty, the best support staff. And if we have all of these, then we can respond to the changes in society. One of the most recent ones, obviously, is the AI revolution. AI is underlying everything these days. But only if people interact with it, and we have the human-centered AI program exactly on that, is that things happen. And another thing we have to make sure, and was mentioned earlier, we have to make sure that all we are bringing out does not depend on zip code. That everybody, being it in the big cities, being it in the rural communities here in West Texas, everybody has to be able to participate in life equally. And again, it is our people going out there and working with the community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, our passion to solve problems, grand challenges, and the people that we employ and that we serve to get that done is really true West Texas spirit. Really, what I love about being at Texas Tech University. Thinking about agriculture from the 1920s when we started to now, the evolution has been phenomenal. And it's been around technologies, and Texas Tech has played a huge role in that relative to, if you think about the number of animals that and the increase for milk production or for meat production through the 70s, and then the changing in terms of the decrease in animal, but the increased growth in milk production and the increased growth in meat production, it's phenomenal. And again, the Burnett Center and the people that were employed to develop and test those technologies. Cotton, huge relative to the onset of understanding the genetic makeup of our crops and cropping systems, so how the crops interact with the environment and with the management. All of those, again, have really grown production, which is badly needed, obviously, as we see an increase in population occurring across the world, across our global footprint. Texas Tech bringing people in, scientists and students from all over the world to learn about those technologies and take those technologies back to their home countries and home states has been very impactful. And so again, Texas Tech has played a dominant role in terms of the evolution of agriculture across this past 100 years?
So for us, it's been about meeting new challenges in society. We have changed a large number of programs over the years, and adding those as needs of employers and as again society is changing. One of the interesting departments we have now is our School of Financial Planning. That originated, and if you trace it all the way back, you get back to household budgeting and thinking about ladies at that time, basically figuring out how to make the family budget stretch it as far as possible and make ends meet. As time has gone on, society really had looked at financial planning as a real need, and so our college jumped in, and we had some real pioneers there that started the program, and we now have the number one program in the country that is very widely recognized. But the great people, and turn back to the point of being about people as well, bring great people in, having wonderful students who participate, and then partnering with industry that really made that change. And I think met a need in society as that has gone on.
Your college has undergone an exercise to ultimately change its name. A founding college of human sciences, and maybe even the name before that, has now added health to its formal name. You want to talk a little bit about the history of that and why the college and you and your leadership felt that it was timely to make an update to the name?
Yeah, thank you. It's been part of our history. And as you mentioned, we went from home economics to human sciences. And just recently, and over the last several years, we've been looking at adding health. Part of it is a national trend. A lot of traditional human sciences have added that. But it really goes back to our foundation of healthy households and all of the things that go up, whether it be into that, whether it be relationships, families, finance, the things that we eat. Those are all part of the things that we do within our college. And so we felt we needed to identify that and add it to the name of the college.
Tim, was the original name actually the School of Household Economics? I think I read that somewhere.
Yeah. Well, I think for about one or two, for just a couple of years, and then they quickly changed it to home economics.
Yeah.
And then, so we've really undergone these changes, but again, it's been, following societal trends and again, moving away from what we do in the household to the wider society and impact on that.
One of the things that has become obvious in my work and advancement is the power of collaboration that we see throughout the university. The big issues that we want to address, that our donors want to partner in addressing, we often see that the largest challenges are going to be multidisciplinary. They're not going to be singular issues that affect one specific discipline. In fact, if we're going to take on societal challenges, we need broad thinking from people all over the university. One of the big strengths of Texas Tech that I have noticed is that our leadership and our faculty broadly do value collaboration, are willing to work outside of their silo for a greater purpose and to hopefully solve a bigger issue. What are ways, when you think about collaboration, both things that you see, but also big opportunities that we have in front of us, what are ways do you think your colleges and other colleges can collaborate to address bigger issues and push the university forward?
To my, I come up as also one of the educational, just thinking about biological systems engineering program, which we are just starting, which is really a collaboration of three of the colleges represented here. That's Davis College, Health and Human Sciences, and Whitaker College of Engineering, coming together to start a completely new degree program, which was literally just approved. Really thinking about the history of the interactions which we had over the last 100 years and looking what we need here in West Texas. We are one of the very few engineering colleges in the country which didn't have a bio-type engineering program. But this is something which engineering cannot do by itself. This is something where we really need our partnerships. We need the partnerships with the College of Agriculture. We need a partnership with nutrition. And there's definitely also some interactions with that, with arts and sciences. So this is really, in order to fulfill our mission, collaboration is not optional. Collaboration is absolutely necessary.
Our students need that exposure to multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary work in terms, them going into our nation, into the world, bringing different aspects of education like that was just so important. And so I'd agree. We have many different programs where we are, sharing that educational responsibility among all of our colleges.
And Byron, you said it. I mean, we're beyond a point in our history where we can solve grand challenges in silos. We've just outgrown that. Yeah. And so we need expertise from all of our different colleges and many of our different disciplines in those colleges to solve grand challenges. Produced water is another one. So working with both of your colleges from solving our water security issue for West Texas, which will be key for rural communities and for agriculture, for human health in the next 100 years. And so without solving that water security issue, our sustainability is certainly at risk. And so I think it's thinking through those challenges, but not just locally. We act local because we live here and we were charged with serving here, but thinking globally about how the transdisciplinary work that our faculty do is solving society at large. So,
the amount of collaboration going on now has just grown the last several years. And I think a lot of that is certainly our leadership at the top. The deans have all so willing and so supportive of their faculty. One of the examples we have of working with other colleges, and again, I have examples with all of them, but is working with psychology on a telehealth program. We have a community family and addiction sciences program, and they have marriage and family therapy. And one of the challenges for a lot of people in rural communities, and again, is getting help. And so working with psychology, our faculty and graduate students can really make an impact in those communities by providing that help.
I hear in all of the answers both the value, shared value of collaborating, but also that it all runs to a problem-solving end, that people are still actively focused on trying to find solutions for the problem. I think that's something we touched on as we've thought through our history, that we've always been able to keep people forward in the equation and trying to find that solution. So collaboration becomes the vehicle with which the next set of solutions can help people. I'm continually inspired when I hear you all talk about your work, your colleges, and the faculty, and the ideas that they have to put people first and continue to solve problems.
I think one of the things is, if you think about, you have to train our students to work in multidisciplinary teams. Because that is where the future is. No student will only work with mechanical engineers or with physicists or with agronomists. They all need to be working in teams. So we have to model that for them also in education and in research. And one big example is the upcoming Design Village. Because designing the built environment is again something which is very common across engineering, agriculture, human sciences, as well as letters and sciences and other colleges around the university. So as the start, how we train the students for the second half of the 21st century, for the problems of the future, we have to teach them how to solve the problems of the future. We don't know what these problems are, but we have to teach them how to solve them. And that is, in a collaborative spirit, designing together the solutions for the future. And I think the Design Village is a great start for that.
Yeah, each one is bringing expertise to the table to solve those grand challenges, right? And so the whole spirit and intent of that is around collaboration and teaching students to understand that, they have a lot of expertise in a single discipline, but if they interact with their colleagues in other design disciplines, in this case, they're going to strengthen the approach with a broader team. And so I really love that Texas Tech again is continuing to grow that spirit of collaboration. And there would be a lot of examples of that. Another one is the Institute for One Health Innovation. That institute, again, is working across all of our colleges, and we would have examples of faculty that are working in that space. And it's very much driven towards graduate student education, but also undergraduate research. And so it's agriculture that starts with the soil and comes through life from a plant perspective, from an animal perspective, from a human perspective, from an ecosystem perspective. And so even the definition, if you think about that, there's plant expert, there's animal expert, there's human experts, and there's ecosystem experts that all have to come together to solve those issues related to One Health. So it is an exciting time, again, to be at Texas Tech, and I think that mindset towards collaboration is going to help our students be career-focused, be career-ready, but also be, very good leaders when it's their time to lead and followers when it's their time to follow because of what we're doing through collaborative efforts.
And I think this design village is a very exciting opportunity, I think, for the whole campus. It's going to bring people from all the colleges together. They'll all get opportunities to see the building, to see what's going on inside and how people collaborate on different projects, on different problems. So I think this is going to be a really important next step, again, for the university.
And I think it's also a great example how, when people come together, how world-class research can develop. Kishore Mehta is the first homegrown National Academy of Engineering member coming out of the Wind Institute, really building the prominence. The team builds the leader and the leader builds the team together. And that, again, is a great model. And the Wind Institute is, again, one of these examples. They are starting from really the most unfortunate circumstances, leading us to one of these places where, if people think about wind science in the world, Texas Tech is one of the places they think about. It is really, we are at that level that we are absolutely a world-leading university in that area. And that has come from seeing what needs to be done and then actually doing it.
I'd just like to add too, on the student front, one of the things that I think all the colleges are doing is adding new minors and certificates that people can add on to their degree, and our students can add on to their degrees, which I think is a wonderful way for them to go out and look at another area, to learn about something that maybe was not necessarily in their major, but might really help them in a career, broadens their perspective, and helps them understand that. So I think all of our colleges have been very successful in developing those minors, those certificate programs, again, that students can take and help them along that way.
It's incredible to think about the past 100 years of Texas Tech, but maybe even more incredible is to dream about the Texas Tech of 100 years from now. You'll be in a world with different technology, with different problems, with different opportunities. In Texas Tech, my deep hope and belief is that we'll continue to be right there, serving those needs, solving those problems as we have for the previous 100 years. So when you think about the future and all of the things that might entail, what about the work of your college? What about the work of your colleagues do you think might have that impact to continue to show what I think we all know, that from here it is possible? What are the challenges that our university and colleges are working on that you think are going to leave a mark in the next 100 years?
So for us, I think our focus will continue to be on the human element in whatever we're doing. We have AI that is really impacting the world, but we also know that we need people and we need to understand what's going on in their lives. We need to understand the relationships they have, their mental health, how they work with others. And so I think this is a foundation for us as a college, is to have that role that we can play despite all these new technologies, new things going on. That let's focus on people as well.
Yeah, 100 years is young relative to other universities across the public and land grant landscape. But we have to be an institution that's highly recognized for solving problems that allow us to sustain production agriculture and natural resources in arid and semi-arid environments. And so we were one of the latest comers to tearing out native grass and planting cotton and milo, other row crops. We don't want to be the first one that goes out of business, right? And I think it's our job, not just for this region, but for arid and semi-arid environments around the world, that we're solving grand challenges around water security, around soil health, around plant genomics and animal genomics that allow farmers and ranchers to produce food. That's really what we're about, is food security for a growing population and a growing world, to allow our farmers and ranchers to have the tools they need to sustain those production agricultures in this kind of environment.
Two things come to my mind.
One is energy. We need to power a growing world, and we need to use and distribute all possible energy sources. We need to understand them. We need to be able to efficiently use them. And we need to be able to understand how they interact, for example, with water, with the environment, and with people. Energy is really one of the grand challenges the world will have to solve in order to grow forward. And there are many conflicts which otherwise will arise. And in order to avoid them, we have to solve the energy problem. And that is the number one problem we are trying to work on in the College of Engineering. Another big issue is really providing the workforce for the future industries. We are developing 3 new technology programs and 2 new engineering programs. So we are working on 5 new degrees in the College of Engineering in order to think about what students will need to solve the problems of the future. So we don't know what the problems are, but we have an idea what tools will be needed to solve them, in what areas these problems will arise. This goes all the way from space down to plagues. So really, you have biological systems engineering on one hand, you have aerospace engineering on the other hand. These are problems humankind will have to solve. And we at Texas Tech, we have to play our role, because as a public university, this is our job.
Well, I wish that I had a crystal ball to know what some of those problems we'll be facing in 100 years. But I do think fundamentally one of the jobs that was established as the Division of Liberal Arts in 1925 to become later on the College of Arts and Sciences really is to provide that fundamental education. It is really to think about the humanistic aspect of education, to think about the impact on human. We're facing the AI revolution right now, but I think we still need to think about that from a humanistic perspective. We have to understand our history. We have to continue with our language studies, for example. And those are all things that are going to be really important going forward. We have these great collaborations with engineering, thinking about also energy in the future. We are going forward making some big collaborations right now on quantum computing and big data analysis, nuclear engineering. These are all things that are going to be a very important part of the College of Arts and Sciences going forward. But establishing and keeping that fundamental liberal arts education is going to be super important as we go into the future also.
One thing, and I've been reminded here, sitting around the fire with my dean colleagues, that's really striking about Texas Tech University, and that's the confidence I have in our students. If you think about the students that have gone on from after graduating with a degree, be it a bachelor's, master's, or PhD, and have done extraordinary things It's amazing. And I think that spirit is part of the West Texas culture and our history. And so I'm very confident in our students and the entrepreneurs that we could all go around, make another pass, and talk about alumni from our colleges that have had tremendous impact on changing the world and continue to do so, or have come from very marginalized means and have been very successful in their lives and in their careers. Not just making money, but truly having impactful lives is very telling of who we are at Texas Tech University.